Most of us have heard about the face on Mars and repeated accusations that NASA has been covering up the truth. The release of 65,000 photographs from NASA's Mars Global Surveyor has now put us on the fast track to discovery about a past intelligent civilization on the red planet. This is NASA's uncover-up, if you will. Strap yourself in. We're about to see compelling proof of artificial structures on Mars that could have profound implications for the history of the human race. This is a sculpture by artist John Sheldon of the famous five-sided pyramid photographed by NASA's Viking probe in the Cydonia region of Mars. But as the late Carl Sagan pointed out in his television series Cosmos, the Elysium area also has pyramids, and these pyramids, very seldom spoken about, are said to be twice as tall as the World Trade Center. Geologists insist that the wind would have to be blowing from three directions, all at the same speed, for the pyramids of Elysium to have been formed naturally. And then there are the glass-like tunnels, which are at least 60 feet in diameter with exposed sections running 1,000 feet long. The tunnels are amazing. We may be looking at nothing less than the ultimate proof of an ancient civilization that used these tunnels for water or perhaps even for transportation. Before I turn the microphone over to Brian O'Leary, I have something I want to show you over to your left. The face on Mars is back. This sculpture is made by artist Salvador Rosilio and based on the original Viking photograph of the face on Mars. It shows a giant sphinx-like figure with human features in Cydonia. And now a new photograph has been released that's really going to make you sit up and take notice. It's an entirely new face on Mars, and this time it appears to be the face of a woman wearing a crown.
Science is going through a major revolution. There's no question about it. We are living in exciting times in spite of what government agencies might tell you. And probably in no area has there been more misunderstanding than in the area of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. In 1976, the Mars Viking orbiter imaged a mile-long mesa that resembles a human face staring straight up into space. The spacecraft also imaged other objects of interest in the surrounding areas. This began a 25-long period of scientifically inappropriate actions, including the initial denial of a second corroborating image of the Cydonia face, the use of improper optical algorithms and filters on the high-resolution face image for example, the initial Mars Global Surveyor photograph, holding back or delaying the release of images from the public, and providing premature negative interpretations of their possible artificiality. Also, we have seen in NASA a lack of cooperation with qualified outside investigators, including campaigns to discredit the inquiry. How could this have happened? Perhaps NASA and its contractors and other agencies are following a secret policy to deny evidence for extraterrestrial intelligence, pursuant to a 1961 Brookings Institution report recommending non-disclosure to the public.
So for the first of these, I should stress that all of the images we're going to look at are in the general category of if we saw them on Earth, we would conclude that they were the activity of either humans or large-scale biology on Earth. Now, there are arguments why these are not normal products of nature, and certainly nothing like them exists on any of the other moons or planets of the solar system that we have imaged to date. The next picture is in a different category of glassy tubes. The glassy tubes are seen in dozens of places since we've sampled only 1/1000th of the surface of Mars so far at high resolution. They must be all over the place. They are networked. We've established that it is not an optical illusion. They are really tube-shaped. They are not easily explained as dunes or lava tubes. They seem to be translucent. In fact, in this case, that bright spot seems to be a specular reflection of the sun, implying that the surface must be glassy or metallic. Natural surfaces don't ordinarily give you specular reflections. This is an object, one of several in this area, which if we saw it on Earth, we would say, well, that's a tree seen from above. But Mars is supposed to be a lifeless planet. Yet we see the radial structure around a central trunk. We can see several levels of branching. We can see shadows cast on the ground. These are clearly not on the ground geologically. They are above it, casting shadows downward. This is one of the images that led Arthur Clarke to say he's 95% certain that Mars has large life on it. Here's the category of infrastructure, and I showed this one out of several because triangle shapes require a special explanation, and here there's so many of them so similar. And even if those are shadows, you still have an unusual number of monoliths, large monoliths, all of the same size and shape. Not only that, but they are organized, not randomly placed at all, but there are long curved arcs on both sides. This is a return to our old friend, the Cydonia face on Mars, but there are two new things we've learned about it. One is that one of the arguments that it's probably natural is that it's can only be seen from above, and yet it was tilted at an angle and it's at no special place on the planet. However, the white line shows the old equator of Mars prior to the large pole shift that Mars experienced at an unknown time, but probably dated to 3.2 million years ago. And before that pole shift, the face on Mars, interestingly, was right on the Mars equator and oriented upright, both indicators that it was a built object, the Cydonia face. This is now the second face image, not the Cydonia one. This is at another location on Mars near the famous dark marking Syrtis Major. It's located about a quarter away around the planet from Cydonia. The coloration is always artist's addition to the original image shown here. Don't let that detract from the original image shown on the left. But there are some of us, we divide into left and right brain groups, and the left brain groups seem to prefer the help of the artist, and the right brain groups kind of think that detracts. So in the case of this, which is a sample of the kinds of artistic imagery we're seeing on Mars, one of many, it is really the interrelationships and the context which establish artificiality. Nonetheless, the fact that we have a second impressive face on the planet, and probably indications of a few more too, not quite so impressive, tell us again that those a priori odds that do apply to the second and third instances, that these are statistically significant and telling us that the planet has artificiality, artificial structures on it, and that these are not repeated instances of freakish chances of nature. In this image, by any artist, it is just rearranging the features you see by computer instructions to restore a high angle of lighting, put the shadows in the right place, and to restore an overhead view from this oblique view to one side. And here's what happens when we do that. There's the lighting restored, and now we rotate to a view from above. And this is what the object actually looks like, as best we can tell at this point. So both the other scientific arguments and the new view of the face certainly have our attention with regard to perspective artificiality of this object, but there is more. In this image, to the amazement of everyone, including the scientists involved who made these predictions, we can see two nostrils at the end of the nose, we can see an iris inside the eye socket, we can see an eyebrow feature over the eye socket, we can see that the mouth does consist of parted lips,